Ravens have backed out of the Maxx Crosby trade with the Raiders. Would have given the Raiders 2 first-round picks, including number 14 this year. Crosby now returns to Vegas ahead of today's 4 p.m. free agency deadline. And I've got the entire crew here as we continue discussing this and breaking down the tentacles of it. And the name that keeps jumping into my head, and it probably would have been a name in my mind anyway, but I have Schefty with me, don't I? If Schefty is still there. Schefty, Trey Hendrickson is a name that jumps immediately into my head. I've been waiting to see where he winds up going. And this obviously all makes it all the more interesting. What are we expecting with regard to him and Crosby now as we work towards 4 o'clock?
Well, it's only logical to think that the Baltimore Ravens would have to check in with Trey Hendrickson, who already had interest from other teams and was getting more and more interest yesterday as the day went on from other teams. So his market clearly has heated up. And now the question is, he has been looking for long-term security. Who's going to provide that for him? Which is the situation that feels best for him? I think there are a handful of options. Everybody had mentioned before, Indianapolis, Philadelphia lost Jalen Phillips. Washington has been looking for pass rush help. Baltimore obviously backed out of the Maxx Crosby trade yesterday. So there are a whole host of teams who now could potentially be in the market for a 31-year-old pass rusher who was cleared weeks ago, who feels healthy, who's ready to go and come in and contribute. This is what he's been waiting for. This is the moment. This is the free agent time that he had been trying to achieve in Cincinnati. He was not tagged. He is in the open market. He has been in active discussions with other teams. And in free agency, these things can heat up and cool off quickly. His market has heated up rapidly.
Yeah, I'm sure no one's more disappointed in the Maxx Crosby situation than the Ravens, because the impact that I think they assumed he was going to have was enormous. They have to be in on this Trey Hendrickson situation because they need this person. They need a pass rusher. They might use their first-round pick that they've just reacquired to get that pass rusher, but I think their defense improving is relying on them not needing to compensate schematically for the fact that they can't create any pressure. So they're going to be in the market for Trey Hendrickson. They might be in the market for some other sort of trade because the window for opportunities is completely open. What they do with those picks matters. And one of the things that really jumps out to me is for the Raiders, we were so impressed and excited about the Raiders' future yesterday. That changes. You got 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years. That's something that you can have a foundation to build a championship run if it turns out that the quarterback is who you think he is. Now you have a player back on your roster whose value is down. You're not getting 2 1s for Maxx Crosby at this point when you trade him.
He is the definition of damaged goods.
Trey Hendrickson had season-ending core surgery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a reality where you would have to pass him for a physical as well. I think if you're Baltimore, I agree. Trey Hendrickson has to be high on their list.
The physical bar goes down when you're no longer sending 2 first-round picks away. When it's just a contract.
That's fair.
What you would accept in a physical.
Give me a team. Give me a team that adds Trey Hendrickson, and you say, okay, boom. Now all of a sudden they're my team to go.
Well, Buffalo 1, Philadelphia 2, Baltimore 3, Rams 4. I'll focus on Baltimore. If I'm Baltimore now, I was willing to part with those 2 picks for X-player, Maxx Crosby. If I'm Baltimore now, and with all the money, why would I not be trying to sign Trey Hendrickson and calling Philly to see if I can trade for A.J. Brown? He's not going to command trade-wise as much as Maxx Crosby did. So, in essence, if I was willing to get rid of those picks, 2 1s, and the money for 1 player, if you're Baltimore, why would you not be willing to get rid of some part of those picks and money for 2 players, Hendrickson and A.J. Brown?
Yeah, Baltimore's lost 9 free agents over the last 2 days. Like that's not nothing, and they have cap space to spend. I think they will be in on Trey Hendrickson. Will they get him? I don't know. There's other teams interested. But, yeah, their entire offseason focus shifts now. Of course, it shifts back to the draft, which is much more like them to hold on to their first-round picks. But they need to start signing guys, and that edge rush that they thought they had locked down jumps right back up to the top of their priority list this offseason.
Schefty.
Yeah, let me say this. I think Baltimore was in on Trey Hendrickson even when Maxx Crosby was expected to be a Baltimore Raven. So if they were in before at least checking in, certainly they're going to be checking in and being even a little bit more aggressive now. But those calls to him were made even with the idea that Crosby would be on the roster. And now he's not. So let's see how that unfolds.
So I think if nothing is more clear today than none of those like on paper deals or conceptual deals were solid, is there any chance that a player like Rashawn Gary goes back to the market now and becomes someone that the Ravens are interested in bidding for to address this situation.
Well, again, I mean, yes, theoretically, but it doesn't sound like the Cowboys are interested in backing out of that deal.
No. But
you
Cowboys
mean like
don't
somebody
have
else
to
to
back out.
top the
Like
deal.
the Ravens need to answer the edge question.
Yeah.
Rashawn Gary is agreed in principle. He has not signed a contract.
There is nothing stopping the Ravens from calling the Packers about
That's my
Rashawn
only
Gary
point.
today. And there's nothing stopping the Packers from calling the Cowboys and saying, sorry, we got a better deal.
Everything might get shaken up today. Like, we are anticipating that these deals still stand, but nothing's been signed.
Right. But yes, even as we sit here and say this is possible, nothing's official till 4 o'clock, it is still incredibly unusual for a team or a player to back out of a deal that was agreed to on Monday and Tuesday. And there are reasons for that. You don't want to suddenly be a team nobody wants to do.
And you don't want to be an agent who you feel like, I understand why it doesn't happen.
Agents are agents.
But it just happened yesterday, guys.
Right. I hear you.
But that's a slightly different circumstance, right? I mean, the failing of a physical is a legitimate concern.
Right.
It's a legitimate consideration. Here's the thing. Free agency, Schefter said it yesterday, free agency really in earnest began at noon on Monday.
Right.
This trade took place Friday. So everything that happened on Monday and forward took place under the presumption that Maxx Crosby had been traded to the Ravens. If this physical had happened on Saturday, then literally everything might have come out slightly differently. And Rashawn Gary might be somewhere else. And Trey Hendrickson might already be on it. But all those things didn't happen. And Schefter, I just want you to clear, because you and I spoke this morning before the show. All these deals that we're now saying, and it's sort of, fun and crazy to imagine it, could suddenly get reopened. None of that. You're not expecting any of that to happen.
No, Dan is exactly right. Every year we see a player, maybe one, back out of an agreement that he had. It is very rare. You don't see teams back out of deals like this. In fact, the Raiders once did it with an offensive tackle, Roger Saffold, after a physical.
Yeah.
So that team also did it back in the day. Every now and again it happens. It never happens on a deal of this magnitude. We've never seen this happen of a trade of this proportion. But we are not expecting all of a sudden Rashawn Gary to be traded to be Baltimore now, or Minkah Fitzpatrick to be shipped to New England, or any player who's been traded, agreed to terms on the trade in the last week, to suddenly have a new home or teams calling around to up the ante. That's not good. We're talking here about what is expected to be an isolated example. The Maxx Crosby trade being off. That's the only one that I expect to change. Might there be another? Somehow, some way, I guess, but I'm not expecting anything else other than this one.
But think of the implications this has for Las Vegas. There was a plan set in place of, we have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years now that we are going to use to build around this young quarterback that we are going to take at 1. That is now up in flames. There's drastic implications. And I think with the Raiders, the biggest thing for them is going to have to be, are they willing to take 60 cents on the dollar now rather than maybe 70 cents on the dollar in 5 months, or 20 cents on the dollar in relation to what you can get compensation-wise? So I know we're saying Baltimore lost a great player, and they did.
Yeah.
It totally screws Las Vegas.
And that was a good point about how all the moves Monday, the agreements Monday, happened in a universe where Maxx Crosby was going to be a Raider and a Raven, and the Raiders were going to have a 14th pick in the draft. They might have done something differently, right? Like if they had known they weren't going to have the 14th pick in the draft. Now it sounds like they had. Trust me, there were meetings in Las Vegas last night. Can we still afford all these guys? What do we do about Max, et cetera, et cetera? Right now, it seems like they're able to breathe. They're able to afford all the deals they agreed to, and they can take their time with Maxx Crosby.
But do they
and
say,
figure out the
Buffalo
right
calls and says, we'll give you 2 twos,
if
and
the
it's like,
price
well, we
is
were
right, sure.
That's the point.
That's the question.
Is that his physical might be good enough for lesser compensation.
Yeah, of course.
If the question's
Or for a
about his
different
long-term, that's what I mean.
Right.
Maxx Crosby can and probably will still be traded. The difference is it will most likely be for less, far less.
I think
than this was.
It's entertaining to talk about all the different possibilities, but just the Maxx Crosby impact is huge because now he will be lesser. It'll go for a smaller number of picks, and it could be on a team that's competitive. We could see Lamar Jackson in the Ravens in the playoffs against the Bills, and Maxx Crosby have a game-changing sack in that situation. That's a realistic possibility, all because he is now